To proceed, today inshallah we will have the chapter on al-Tahqiq, Ascertainment, and in fiqh we will finish a chapter on Ascertainment, or the proper treatment of women and al-Rijal, honestly, because it talks about proper treatment of men as well. So we'll talk about the rest of that chapter. Last time we covered the proper treatment of, or covered the rights of the husband. Today, inshallah, we will cover the rights of the wife. And we will try to finish that and finish the chapter on ila, which is a small chapter. Ila, which is the oath of abandonment, when the husband makes an oath to abandon his wife, or to not have intimacy with his wife for more than 4 months. When we finish that, we will attempt to cover as much as we can. If we cover the whole chapter, that will be good. Inshallah, we will borrow some time from the class on Tazkiyah for fiqh, because the class on Tazkiyah will not be long today. So we will try to cover the chapter on al-Qasmu al-Nushuz, the division. That's the division between co-wives, and al-Nushuz, which is rebellion. And that is, Nushuz actually could be described to be the Nushuz of the man or the Nushuz of the woman. It is the rebellion of the woman most of the time, but it could also mean the rebellion of the man. Let's start with Bab al-Tahqiq then, or Manzilat al-Tahqiq, the chapter or the station of or on Tahqiq. And the Tahqiq means ascertainment, as we said. So the Shaykh starts as usual, Imam al-Harawi rahmahullah, who died in the year 481 after the hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, started as usual with a verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Allah Almighty said, have you not believed? He said, yes, meaning I have believed, but I ask only that my heart may be satisfied. I ask only that my heart be satisfied. So why did he start with this particular ayah? It's obvious, although people disagree over, people who use tafsir al-Ishari, or the tafsir that is more subtle by inferences and illusions. They may have a different tafsir of this than the usual tafsir. And usually when you want tafsir al-Ishari, tafsir by inferences and illusions that are not the primary meanings of the verses, is not unacceptable wholesale, and it is not acceptable wholesale. It has to be, there is a detailed approach to this. If it is in harmony with the primary meanings, not in conflict with any Shara'i meanings, tafsir al-Ishari, tafsir by inferences. If it is in harmony with the primary meaning, not in conflict with Shara'i meaning or meanings, then it is acceptable. So a good book on tafsir al-Ishari would be al-Alusi's Ruh al-Ma'ani, for instance. Al-Alusi's Ruh al-Ma'ani is a good tafsir that starts by al-Tafsir bil-Zahir, which is the tafsir by primary meanings, and then mentions the tafsir al-Ishari, inferred subtle meanings that are not obvious. Some of the books of tafsir may rely heavily on a tafsir al-Ishari, where you don't see the connection at all. They don't even mention the primary meanings, or the tafsir bil-Athar, which is the tafsir based on the tradition by the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the early predecessors. Or bil-Ra'yi, which is tafsir that is based on the linguistic meanings. they go right into tafsir al-Ishari without the other types of tafsir, and that could sometimes be problematic. But Ruh al-Ma'ani by al-Alusi, it starts by the primary meanings and then it goes into tafsir al-Ishari. No, unfortunately not. It's not. Ruh al-Ma'ani has not been translated yet, although it would be a good endeavor to translate it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, أَوْلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ بَلَا قَالَ بَلَا وَلَكَ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Have you not believed? He said yes, but in order for my heart to be satisfied, I want to see how you bring the dead to life in order for my heart to be satisfied. What is the tafsir al-Zahir here? And some people, you know, because keep in mind that the ayah, it says, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى. And behold, remember when Ibrahim said, "Oh my Lord," or Abraham said, "Oh my Lord." By the way, Abraham is a Quranic recitation. So if someone calls their son Abraham, it is a Quranic recitation. It's fine also. So Ibrahim or Abraham said, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ibrahim said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Show me how you bring the dead to life." And Allah said to him, "Have you not believed?" And he said, yes, I believed, but in order for my heart to be satisfied. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him what? فَخُذْ أَرْبَعَةً مِنَ الطَّيْرِ فَصُرْهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ ثُمَّ اجْعَلْ عَلَى كُلِّ جَبَلٍ مِنْهُنَّ جُزْءًا ثُمَّ ادْعُهُنَّ يَأْتِينَكَ سَعْيًا. He said, bring 4 birds to you. صُرْهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ ضُمَّهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ. Bring them to you. ثُمَّ اجْعَلْ عَلَى كُلِّ جَبَلٍ مِنْهُنَّ جُزْءًا. And then put on each, mountain part of them. Just part of them. What does that mean? There is no mention in the ayah that he's slaughtering anything. However, the scholars, all of the scholars, deduced that this would be the obvious meaning, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is certainly, he's asking him to show him resurrection. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, had he not been asking him to show him resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have not told them, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ, have you not believed? And then put part of them on each mountain. ثُمَّ ادْعُهُنَّ يَأْتِينَكَ سَعْيًا. Then call them, and then they'll come walking to you. They will come walking to you, or they will come promptly, rapidly to you. So the ayah means that there is like something here that is muqtada, a required insertion that is required by the general context of the verse. The general context of the verse would not flow properly unless we say, bring them, slaughter them, cut them up, put a piece or a part of each on the mountain tops, and then call them to you so that they may come. The ayah does not explicitly say that, but it would indicate that, and that is sort of would be a required implication, muqtada. So now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking, that Ibrahim is asking Allah to show him how he brings the dead to life, what does Ibrahim want? Was Ibrahim in doubt? Certainly not. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, نَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِالشَّكِّ مِنْ إِبْرَاهِيم. We are more prone, more subject to doubt than Ibrahim. نَحْنُ أَحَقُّ would not be translated here as more deserving, because doubt is not something that you deserve. Doubt is something that you are prone to or subject to. It's not a good thing. So, نَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِالشَّكِّ مِنْ إِبْرَاهِيم. We are more prone or subject to doubt than Ibrahim. So Ibrahim did not doubt the power of his Lord. But as the scholars said, he wanted to move from ilm al-yaqeen to ayn al-yaqeen. He wanted to move from the certainty of knowledge to the certainty of eyesight, and there is a difference. ليس الخبر كالعيان. The report is not like eyewitness. It's even called eyewitness, eyewitness news. So ليس الخبر كالعيان. The report is not like the eyewitness. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ said. Certainly, the report is not like the eyewitness. So when you see it, it is a higher level of certainty. And then haqq al-yaqeen is when you experience it. So do you know, I don't know if I'm saying it right or not, but there is a fruit called lychees, and I tried it when I went to, where is it?
Southeast Asia?
It is in Southeast Asia mainly. Mauritius, yeah, it's next to Madagascar, yeah, okay. So I went to Mauritius, and I've never tried that fruit. I've never seen it before. So it's just like, so I can sit down here. If you have not seen the fruit, it would be ideal. If you have not ever heard of the fruit or seen it. So ilm al-yaqeen is when I sit down and I tell you that this is the fruit is a little bit larger than a strawberry. The peel outside looks like a strawberry. It's a bumpy peel like the strawberry, same color, but it's a little bit yellowish, has a little yellowish tinge. And then underneath this, there is the fleshy part, which is whitish and tastes somewhere like a crossover between strawberry and watermelon. And then inside that there is a seed. It's a larger seed, it's a hard seed inside. And then I can keep, and then there is the stalk, and there is at the top. So I can keep. You may now have a pretty decent idea of the fruit, right? If I'm good enough, or descriptive enough, to sort of convey some of the qualities of the fruit. So you may have some of but is it anything like seeing it? And when you see it, it is also not like eating it. So to have that experience. Anyway, so that's the difference between ilm al-yaqeen and ayn al-yaqeen. Ilm al-yaqeen is when you're told, and you have a good report, and that report is corroborated, like we said before, either by miracles or concurrence of people, tawatur. Then you do believe in it, and it would be ilm al-yaqeen. Ibrahim wanted haqq al-yaqeen, ayn al-yaqeen, which is the certainty of eyesight. Now, some of the mashayikh say that Ibrahim wanted tahqiq in the sense that he would be the one doing it. So, like, that resurrecting of the dead, it will happen through him. So he would do it, he would be the one doing it by Allah, through Allah. And that is why he mentioned it in the station of tahqiq. And now it gets a little bit murky, the concept gets a little bit murky, and but just accept the general meaning of this, the primary meaning. That's the vast majority of Muslim scholars, commentators that said that this was a request by Ibrahim to be elevated from ilm al-yaqeen to ayn al-yaqeen, certainty of knowledge to certainty of eyesight. Is it suitable still, the primary meaning for this particular chapter? Yes. Because what is at-tahqiq? What is at-tahqiq? He says at-tahqiq تلخيص مصحوبك من الحق ثم بالحق ثم في الحق. Ascertainment is the distilling of your wants from the real, then by the real, then in the real. وهذه أسماء درجاته الثلاث. These are the names of its three levels. So tahqiq comes from a familiar word, haqq, right? Truth. Tahqiq is finding the truth. Tahqiq is a verbal noun. following the pattern of taf'il, a verbal noun, called tahqiq, comes from haqq, comes from the truth. So it is finding, seeking the truth, finding the truth. To be able to discover the truth, to find the truth, to reach the truth, is tahqiq. That is why you find, like, interrogation in the Arabic-speaking world, they call interrogations tahqiqat, tahqiq, plural tahqiqat. So that is why. Because you want to uncover the truth of what happened. That is why, they say the muhaqqiq of the kitab. It is sometimes they translate this as the editor, and sometimes they translate it as the verifier. So when someone brings a manuscript and makes it into a book, a printed book, that person is called the muhaqqiq, because in the process, he must verify the correctness of the transmission from manuscript to a book, and also trace back some of the reports to the Prophet ﷺ or whoever spoke of them, and things of that nature. So he's the verifier or the editor. His work is tahqiq. It is basically finding the truth, discovering, finding, unveiling, reaching the truth. So tahqiq here, the Shaykh says, تلخيص مصحوبك من الحق ثم بالحق ثم في الحق. As we said, it's the distilling of your wants from the real, then by the real, then in the real. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says in Manaazil As-Saa'irīn that there is a subtlety here, why he used talkhis versus takhlis, because Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah says talkhis is just like takhlis. Talkhis is just like takhlis. Takhlis, it comes from where? Like a familiar word would be what? Ikhlas. Ikhlas is what? To purify. To purify. And we say ikhlas because you're trying to purify our devotion and remove all the impurities from your devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to purify this and remove all the impurities. Takhlis al-asal, to purify the honey, is to remove all the impurities. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says takhlis is used for ما كان خارج الذهن, that which is extra mental. Talkhis is the same thing for that which is mental, الذهني, الأمور الذهنية. So that is why you call the abridgment of books talkhis, summary, summarization. تلخص الكتاب, you summarize the book so that you could get the zubda, basically the essence of the subject, and remove all the additional sort of information that are not of the essence of the subject. That is why it is takhlis. It is to purify, the same thing. But it is a mental job versus the takhlis that is outside of the mind, or the extra mental one. So tahqiq here is suitable for the Shaykh, and he was an authority in language as well, to have used the word talkhis versus takhlis. It is not a typo. So he said talkhisu mas'hubika min al-haq. It is basically distilling of your wants from the real. Mas'hubika min al-haq. Mashub means what? Your companion. But your companion in the passive or the active voice? Passive. It is ism maf'ul or ism fa'il? Ism maf'ul. The difference between ism al-fa'il and ism maf'ul is what? The ism al-fa'il is the subject, the active agent. Ism al-maf'ul is the object of the action. The object of the action. So it is in the passive voice. So al-mashub is not what accompanies you, is that which you accompany. So it is that which you accompany on your way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And mashubik min al-haq is basically everything that comes to you from the Lord. That is all the decrees, that is all the commands. So you want to make sure that none of what comes to you from your Lord is going to distract you. And keep in mind, why is he mentioning tahqiq after baqa, after fana? So fana, baqa, tahqiq. The point here is that he wants to tell you, after your fana, after your annihilation, you will now subsist by Allah, with Allah, for Allah. Watch. There may be some remnants of you on you. You still may be carrying some remnants of you. Tahqiq is to address those remnants and to distill your irada, your will, completely from those remnants. That is what tahqiq is. So fana, you're gone. Baqa, you're subsisting by Allah, with Allah, for Allah. Tahqiq, make sure that there are no remains of you on you. That your fana was complete, radically complete. So that is the reason why he puts them in that order. So تلخيص مصحوبك من الحق now is distilling your wants from the real, then by the real, because it is the same thing. It is a safar ilallah, billah, fillah. You travel to Allah, and then by Allah, travel to Allah. That is you keeping your own volitions and your own wills, but you're making sure that your will and volition is consistent with His demands, and you're traveling by your will to your destination. Then traveling by Allah, not to Allah, but by Allah, is when you're traveling by Him, not by you. That is when you completely deny yourself. That is in ilm and shuhud, that is in knowledge and in your beholding. You have denied anything that is attributable to you, and then you walk by Him. And then fillah, that is after you reach the divine presence, al-hadra, after you reach the divine presence, you're traveling in Allah. What does that mean? We will have to have a Sunni interpretation of this, and we will come to that inshallah. And we did talk about it before, but we'll come to it as well. So you distill your wants from the real, then by the real, by denying your own volition and will. Then in the real, that is when you discover that you did not want anything of Him except Him. You did not want anything of Him except Him. And these are the names of its three levels. أما الدرجة الأولى وهي تلخيص مصحوبك من الحق فألا يخالج علمك علمه. As for the first degree, it is distilling your wants from the real, and that is when your knowledge does not contend with His. Your knowledge does not contend with His. You attribute all knowledge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the messengers will do on the Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, يوم يجمع الله الرسل فيقول ماذا أجبتم قالوا لا علم لنا إنك أنت علام الغيوب. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will gather the messengers and ask them, what response have you received? And then they will say to him, what? قالوا لا علم لنا. We have no knowledge. إنك أنت علام الغيوب. They did not even say, like the angels, لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. There is no knowledge except the knowledge that you have taught us. They just said لا علم لنا. We don't know. They knew. إنك أنت علام الغيوب. You are the all-knowing of al-ghuyub, of the unseen. They knew. So how could they say لا علم لنا? We have no knowledge. They wanted, you can have different interpretations here. لا علم لنا could mean We only know the exterior. You're the only one who knows how our da'wah was received internally. We only know that some people responded to us by their exterior. They followed us, they accompanied us, they believed us. That's what they told us, but we don't know whether they did or not, because you're the only one who knows. So that's an interpretation. The other interpretation is that they said it out of humbleness, but there has to be some truth to it as well, because humbleness will not make you lie unless there is some truth to it. There is some sort of meaningful interpretation here. And the obvious one here would be what? Compared to his knowledge, our knowledge vanishes. Because it is temporal, it is superficial, it is limited, and it is his in the first place, because he's the one who taught us, he's the one who gave us the tools, and he's the one who taught us that knowledge. So compared to his knowledge, divide anything by infinity, 0. So compared to his knowledge, our knowledge vanishes. So that is when your knowledge does not contend with his. وأما الدرجة الثانية فألا ينازع شهودك شهوده. As for the second degree, it is when your beholding does not contend with his, and that is pretty similar to the previous one, but this is about the hal now. It's not about the knowledge, it's about your shuhud, it's about your beholding. And your beholding now will not be yours, because you will deny yourself, and you will deny anything that is of you, or by you, or attributable to you, including your shuhud or beholding of him. وأما الدرجة الثالثة ألا يناسم رسمك سبقه فتسقط الشهادات وتبطل العبارات وتفنى الإشارات. As for the third degree, it is when your temporal form does not mask his antecedents. Then the testimonies fade away, the expressions expire, and the gestures vanish. درجة الثالثة, it is when your temporal form does not mask his antecedents. Temporal form does not mask his antecedents, or does not compete with his antecedents. Or yunasim could also mean does not mix with his antecedents. So it could mean that he is trying to say, keep in mind that you are not mixing. So it is not reunion in the ontological form. Or it could mean that it does not approach. Yunasim, it could mean that it does not approach. So it is when your soul travels back in time to the time when none of these creations existed and Allah only existed. And you just capture that moment and you hold on to it. You capture that moment and you hold on to it. Because anything that came after that moment is what? Disposable, worthless, meaningless, almost, It has existence, it does have reality, it is part of, it's real, but it almost, because of its contingency and because of its disposability, it's almost as if it's meaningless. It vanishes. So when you reach that point, you go back, your soul travels back in time, captures that moment and brings it, keeps it, holds it. Then the testimonies fade away. The signposts are not needed because you reached your destination. The expressions expire because none of the experiences at that stage is of this world. Therefore, the language is worthless because it's an experience that is out of this world, and the language is meant to describe experiences of this world. And then the gestures vanish. وَتَفْنَى al-isharat. Not even the isharat gestures would be able to denote such experience. That's it, and we've covered many of these meanings before, so that's why we wanted to be brief this time, and we wanted also to borrow some time for the class on fiqh, because we have a lot to finish today, inshallah. قولوا قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. And we will come back in 10 minutes at 8:42 inshallah.